to finish when they were preparing for a match.
And that was Paul Ogden, who's BBC Local Radio's Huddersfield Town commentator. Ben McFadyean is a German football expert and a PhD researcher on the subject at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. Happy to say he joins me on the line now. Thank you very much for joining us, Ben. What do you think makes David Wagner an appealing candidate for Norwich City then?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, look, Wagner is, you could say, essentially, he's Jurgen Klopp's apprentice. I mean, he basically spent 4 years working as the under-23 coach of Jurgen Klopp at Borussia Dortmund. He won the cup and promotion to the third tier, which was the first time Dortmund's second tier side had been promoted to the third tier. It's the highest level, basically, that a second team can go in Germany. He also spent 4 years with Huddersfield as well. So he basically had 4 years in Dortmund, 4 years in Huddersfield. And I don't think he should be judged by essentially having had a bad episode with Schalke 04, which, if you look at it in contrast, in fact, was actually not that bad. But it was a COVID hit season in an extremely toxic environment where the club was in debt and so on. Then eventually they got relegated. So I think, you need to judge David Wagner by his overall achievements. He was a very solid player for Eintracht Frankfurt and Mainz 05 and has gone on to be a solid performer as a coach as well. And as your colleague was, as the gentleman was saying before, a very modest Huddersfield side basically got them promoted and managed to keep them up. And it was impressive. I think he's the right guy. He's got the right kind of attitude, the right kind of personality to bring together a very disjointed Norwich City team. And I think there are various reasons why he's the right guy apart from that.
What do you think it is about Norwich then that makes it an attractive proposition for Wagner? What is it about this place?
I did an interview about Daniel Farke a few years ago, and my when he joined, and my view at the time was that German coaches take time because they have a very holistic approach to looking at things. Norwich City have lost a lot of key staff in the management as well, and I think that the relationship hasn't been so strong between Dean Smith and Stuart Webber, who's the real maker in the club. I think they're missing Emi Buendia a lot because basically Timo Pukki hasn't been getting the feed. And I could see that potential for someone like Ornel Fernandes, who's grown up in Germany, who's come from the German league, and also Josh Sargent, who played for Werder Bremen, who's an American, and Daniel Wagner is, of course, himself American-born as well. So, I mean, there are players that we may be seeing more of that have potential, and I think Wagner will probably look to bring in some more German players. You could see another German revolution in Norwich, and it definitely worked under Daniel Farke, didn't it? So, I think he's got the right kind of mentality in terms of his openness, in terms of his, he's a much more sort of approachable candidate. I was interviewing yesterday his assistant manager, Massimo Mariotti, who was with him at Borussia Dortmund too. And he was just saying basically that, that David is the right kind of guy to manage a team which is fairly dysfunctional, I would say, at the moment. I think there's a depth of quality at Norwich City, but in certain key positions, particularly on the wings, I think, he's going to be looking very fast to bring some players in the January transfer window. But as ever, we know this at Norwich City, the key issue is that the funding is not always put in place. And once they get promoted, they really do need to stay up this time.
And what about his drive then? Because we know Norwich is in a bad place. He's got plenty of experience, a fantastic portfolio and CV. What's his drive going to be like when he comes to Norwich, and how do you think that will be accepted and taken by the players and not just the people on the pitch, but the people behind the scenes?
Well, I spoke to Mario Vrancic this morning, which many Canaries fans of the Canaries will be remember very fondly, who played for him under Borussia Dortmund at Borussia Dortmund too, and he was saying that the approach that David Wagner will bring will be similar to Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, albeit obviously on a much smaller scale. But he'll be basically, I mean, he's famous, Wagner, for Huddersfield Town. He took the team up to Sweden, to the Arctic Circle, and on a team building exercise. And he's all about basically bringing people together and basically getting people to work together and work as a team and have a real understanding. And I think that the fact that he's got a couple of players that have played in the Bundesliga and so on, he's going to look to really bring people together in a way that I suppose the problem with Dean Smith is that he didn't really manage to achieve that kind of sense of team. And I think that showed a lot in Norwich City in some of the games. They just, they didn't really look like a closed unit a lot of the time. So I think in terms of bringing everybody together, I think David Wagner is probably the right kind of person. But I would point out that Wagner has got a reputation of having a very strong personality as well. And, he will want to get his way, basically, at Carrow Road.
So watch this space. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. All the best.